Welcome everyone to another video, and in this video we're going to be taking a look at 3 Ultra Premier teams and how to play them. This is something that I do with some of my students or some of the people that I coach, yeah, we basically I asked on Twitter for some teams that people use in Ultra Premier. I just picked basically 3 at random, and we're just gonna go over them, do some analysis on it. The first one is XL Drifblim with Hex, Icy Wind, Shadow Ball, Snorlax, Shadow Snorlax with Lick, Body Slam, Superpower, Umbreon XL with Snarl, Foul Play, Last Resort. So first thing again I want to note is that this team is really weak to Obstagoon. So that's probably the biggest problem that it has, and also has like a little bit of problem with like Umbreon lead, which is not super common. But that's one thing to know. I do really like all 3 Pokemon. I think they're very strong. Basically, the strategy is to essentially sack one of the Pokemon back, Snorlax or Umbreon, and then hopefully be able to take that Pokemon down later on with Drifblim, farm it down so you can debuff, then hopefully finish off with the other Pokemon that's weak to fighting once you've eliminated the fighting answer. In terms of PV Poke ratings, it has B for coverage, A for bulk, B for safety, and C for consistency. Obviously, having Umbreon is very nice for the bulk. So this is the spreadsheet for this team. Actually, let me just move over here. Let me just expand it a little bit too. So essentially what we're looking at is I have the 3 Pokemon, and then I just basically explained what I would do in each of the leads. And as well as switch-ins. So against Machamp, you just stay. You can pretty much win this any sort of way you want. Shadow Ball it, then farm it down. You can trade Icy Wind. You'll probably lose a 0 shield though if you do trade Icy Wind. Against Swampert, I recommend that you switch to Umbreon. Can straight Icy Wind and win, but you can also straight Icy Wind and win the 1 and 2 shield if you want to play it that way. It's also a case that they may not shield, so you might end up being down a shield and still take a Hydro Cannon. So if you do decide to play the 1 or 2 shield, then you should shield the first one and potentially the first 2, depending on how you want to play it. Against Magnezone, obviously a really bad lead because it is an electric type versus your flying type. So switch to Umbreon, Surf Etch, stay, and then just straight Shadow Ball is what I recommend. You can win all even shield scenarios. If they don't shield the Shadow Ball, you can farm them down with Hex. Umbreon, switch to your own Umbreon. Kind of a bad lead to deal with, very tricky. Escavalier, straight Shadow Ball and then farm down. You basically Shadow Ball, you'll take 1 Aerial Ace or Mega Horn, whatever they want to throw at you, and then you should be able to farm down if they don't shield. Venusaur, you want to straight Icy Wind. You do want to throw that Icy Wind as soon as possible to try to debuff the Frenzy Plants as soon as possible, because the Frenzy Plants is still hurt. They do win CMP, so likely the first one will connect, but you should be fine. Clefable, I recommend that you play the 0 shield. You Icy Wind first, then you Shadow Ball. Build up to the Shadow Ball, throw the Icy Wind. Throwing the Icy Wind first allows you to get to the Shadow Ball, the second Shadow Ball. You cannot do the reverse. You cannot Shadow Ball and Shadow Ball again. So that's how I recommend you play it. Gengar, I recommend you switch to Umbreon. Empoleon, also recommend you switch to Umbreon. Toxicroak, you stay, you Shadow Ball, and then farm down. That's what I recommend you do with all the counter users, essentially. Snorlax, recommend you switch to Umbreon. Same with Alolan Muck. Obstagoon basically beats all 3 Pokemon. I recommend that you try to play the 2 shield matchup with it. Likely, you'll have to spend 2 shields, and they will spend none, or spend 1, I should say. But in theory, you're gonna get hit by the Night Slashes, the Night Slash only after it's been debuffed by 2 stages. So that should be pretty decent for you. But if you see an Obstagoon, it will be a tremendously uphill battle. Same thing with Crustle. Crustle does really well against all 3 Pokemon. Obviously, dealing super effective damage with Rock Slide and Smackdown, and as well does super effective damage with X-Scissor to Umbreon, and then as well a resist Body Slam from Snorlax. So kind of a tough Pokemon to deal with. Dragonite, straight Icy Wind. Togekiss, straight Icy Wind. Against an opposing Drifblim, you could switch. Definitely possible. But you could also stay and play the bait game. And if you end up losing the bait game, you can always bail to Snorlax or to Umbreon. Kingdra, I recommend you switch to Umbreon. Same thing with Ampharos and Charizard. Tangrowth and Gallade, I recommend you trade Icy Wind. Abomasnow switch to Umbreon. Lapras switch to Umbreon. Gyarados, Galvantula switch to Umbreon. Galvantula is also a very bad lead to deal with, so it's going to be really tricky. Galvantula will definitely be able to beat Umbreon, but Iglesias will do a little bit better than Drifblim will. If they switch in a Machamp, you stay. If they switch in a Swampert, you go to Umbreon. Magnezone, you go to Snorlax. Magnezone's kind of weird to deal with, but that's probably your best chance. Surfetch, you stay. Umbreon, you switch to Snorlax, which I know is kind of a weird play, but it's not really too much you can do. Escavalier, Venusaur, stay. Clefable, I recommend that you Icy Wind, then switch to Snorlax. Gengar, I recommend that you switch to Snorlax. Same thing with Empoleon. Toxtrot, you stay. Snorlax. And Muck, you switch to Umbreon. Obscune, I recommend that you Icy Wind, then switch to Umbreon. That's kind of a tricky matchup to play, to be honest. Try to catch Night Slash as well. Crustle, I recommend that you switch to Snorlax. Dragonite, Togekiss, you stay. And then the next four, Drifblim, Kingdra, Ampharos, Charizard, switch to Umbreon. Tangrowth and Gallade, you stay. And then the last four, you alternate between Umbreon and Snorlax depending on what it is. Lapras, Snorlax definitely has a much better Lapras matchup, and as well has a better Galvantula matchup. So this team is pretty solid, has like pretty decent stats across the board when it comes to PvP Poke, as we see here, but does struggle against like a Crustle or Dark lead, especially Darks that end up beating Drifblim. Yeah, this Darks are just really tough because they resist a lot of the moves that are going to be thrown. The next team is they're planning to play Dragonite with Dragon Breath, Dragon Claw, and Hurricane. Snorlax with Lick, Body Slam, and Superpower, and then Venusaur with Frenzy Plant, Vine Whip, Frenzy Plant, and Sludge Bomb. They have a really high ranked Dragonite. When it comes to this team, it has B for coverage, C for bulk, because Dragonite and Venusaur are not the tankiest Pokemon, especially Dragonite. B for safety, still has like a really good safe switch in Snorlax, and then A for consistency, as is mostly you're gonna throw Frenzy Plants, and then as well from Dragonite, most of the damage actually come from Dragon Breath. But if we were able to take a look at this team from this spreadsheet point of view, I'm not sure why this spreadsheet's very different. Okay, all right, let's go here. So Machamp lead, you want to stay. If they don't seek an encounter, then you should be able to get to the second Dragon Claw before they are able to get to the... Well, you get to at the same time, but Dragonite generally wins CMP. Swampert, easy matchup. Dragonite dominates that matchup. Magnezone, recommend that you switch to Snorlax. Surfetch, recommend that you stay. Just have to be careful of the Brave Bird, but you don't have to worry about the other moves. Umbreon, you kind of have to stay. You could go to Snorlax, but I recommend that you probably stay and sack it. You could go with Snorlax, actually, if you want to, but it's kind of tricky there, to be honest. Escavalier, you stay. Venusaur, you stay. Clefable, you switch to Snorlax. Charmer lead, obviously, really tough. Gengar, you recommend stay. Same with Empoleon, Toxicroak, Snorlax. Empoleon's a tricky matchup for sure, but as long as you play it out correctly, should be fine. Muck, if they throw Dark Pulse, very clear Dark Pulse, you should just take it. Otherwise, you just match shields. Obstagoon, you want to stay. Obviously, Obstagoon is pretty bad against Snorlax. Crustle, I recommend that you switch to Snorlax. It's kind of a tough Pokemon. It's kind of a core breaker for this team as well, but not as common as what I saw earlier. It wasn't that common in the first half of Season 6, but we'll see. Dragonite, I recommend that you stay because it beats Venusaur pretty badly. Togekiss, go to Snorlax. Drifblim, try to win a shield down is what I recommend, and then lick it down afterwards. So that could involve, like, you do win CMP, and then you get to the first two moves at the same time. So if you can shield and they don't shield the second Dragon Claw, then you might be able to win. Or if you double shield and then you can potentially farm down afterwards. But that's something you want Venusaur to not see. Against Kingdra, I recommend that you stay in no shield. and then either lick or Vine Whip down afterwards. Ampharos, play the one shield. Charizard, stay. Tangrowth, stay. Gallade, stay. And then Abomasnow, Lapras, and Gyarados, I recommend you switch to Snorlax. And then Galvantula, you stay as well. It's an okay matchup for Galvantula. Dragon Breath really do a lot of damage to Galvantula. Machamp switch in, stay. Same thing with Swampert. Magnezone comes in, go to Venusaur. Kind of a weird matchup, but generally favorable for Venusaur. Surfetch, you stay. Umbreon, you switch to Venusaur. Escavalier, Venusaur, you stay. Clefable, switch to Venusaur because of the poison typing resist Charm. Gengar, switch to Snorlax. Be careful of the Focus Blast. Empoleon, go to Venusaur. Toxicroak, stay. Snorlax, switch to Venusaur. Muck and Obstagoon, you can stay in those matchups. Crustle, switch to Venusaur. Still kind of a tough matchup for Venusaur, but certainly very playable. Dragonite, try to Dragon Claw, then go to Snorlax. Tokias, go to Venusaur. Drifblim, build up to the Dragon Claw, then switch to Snorlax to try to catch the Icy Wind. That Dragon Breath damage is going to be really helpful because it gets kind of iffy in the matchup between Snorlax and Drifblim. Kingdra, switch to Venusaur, same thing with Ampharos. Charizard, Tangrowth, and Gallade, you want to stay. Those are your best matchups. Abomasnow, you want to switch to Snorlax. And then Lapras and Gyarados, you want to switch to Venusaur. Venusaur is able to win those matchups pretty easily. And the Galvantula, you want to stay as well. I think that's your best matchup because the Dragon Breaths do quite a bit of damage. If we go to Team 3, this is from Nick, 228. He is suggesting the Goon squad. He's also a Twitch streamer. Definitely check him out. He's rocking Obstagoon lead, Charizard, and Venusaur. Basically, two Pokemon that really beat fairies and fighting, which is basically the coverage that you want. So let me just go to the rating here. It has B for coverage, C for bulk, C for safety, and B for consistency. It doesn't really have a great safe switch, but we can certainly give it a shot. So what I like about Obstagoon lead is that basically, unless the lead is really bad, like Charmers or Fighters, you basically stay versus everything, right? So Machamp, you want to switch to Snorlax, to Charizard. Charizard's basically going to be your safe switch here. Swampert and Zone, you want to stay. Surfetch, you switch to Charizard. Umbreon, you switch to you stay. It's a very positive matchup. Escavalier, I'm actually not too sure. Maybe Nick can tell us what he does, because going to Venusaur is possible. It's kind of weird to do it. I think you stay in second and then try to farm down with Charizard later. I'm not really too sure. Venusaur, you stay. You could actually go to your own mirror Venusaur as well, but I think it's playable matchup. Clefable, you switch to Charizard. Gengar, Empoleon, you want to stay. Toxicroak, you want to switch to Charizard. And then Snorlax, Muck, opposing Obstagoon, because a lot of times opposing Obstagoons won't have Cross Chop. Crustle and Dragonite, you want to stay. Tokias, you want to go Charizard. Drifblim, Kingdra, Ampharos, Charizard, Tangrowth, Gallade, Abomasnow, Lapras, and Gyarados, you all want to stay. The Pokemon in the back have like pretty good coverage. There are a couple core breakers that definitely give it problems, but Goon can certainly win a lot of leads. It also loses super hard to some Pokemon like counter users and fairies, but besides that, I think it's pretty strong. Galvantula, you got to switch to Charizard. Galvantula is definitely a core breaker for this entire team. So if Machamp switches in or Swampert, you want to go to Venusaur. Magnezone, you want to stay. Surfetch, you want to switch to Charizard. Because you could switch to Venusaur as well, but a little bit fearful of the Brave Bird. Umbreon want to stay. Escavalier, Venusaur, and Clefable, you want to switch to Charizard. Gengar and Empoleon want to stay. Toxicroak, you want to switch to Charizard. Snorlax and Muck, you want to stay. And then Obstagoon and Crustle, you want to go to Venusaur. Tokias, you actually probably want to go. Maybe the Charmers, you go to Venusaur, or you play it by ear depending on what their lead is. So like their lead could be because like technically Charizard is able to beat the Charmers a little bit better. Actually, I don't know. They're about the same. So either is okay. Just depends on what the lead is. Charizard, Tangrowth, Gallade, Abomasnow, and Lapras, you want to stay. Those are all positive matchups. Obviously, Gallade's a little bit tricky. If it gets trickier, then you can always go to Charizard as well. And then Gyarados and eventually you want to switch to Venusaur. Those are both positive matchups. So that's how I like to break down teams and kind of game plan it. You kind of get a sense of it as you start feeling out what the potential teams are, what the potential game plan is. But this is a good starting basis. This is what I recommend that you want to like to build, is try to understand how you play certain lead scenarios, how you play certain switch-ins, so that when they switch in or they lead with it, you kind of have a game plan already in place, and then you can adjust it and change it based off the outcome of the matches or how they responded to the match. Anyways, I'm going to leave it there. If you like this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see everyone in the next video.